Have you been affected by the recent spending cuts? Tonight, we're in Gloucester, the High School for Girls Sixth Form. On tonight's panel, ex-Labour MP for Stroud, David Drew, Steve McMillan, Conservative Councillor and Chair of School Governors, radio presenter, magistrate and former councillor, Carol Francis. I'm Edwina Harris. Now let's get started with a question from the member of the audience. Yeah.
Only 17% of US senators are female, and there are only 4 women in the UK cabinet. Why do women appear not to be trusted at high level in politics? And how can this be resolved?
Carol Francis, as a woman yourself, do you feel particularly strongly on this subject?
Well, actually I do, because I worked with Harriet Harman in the BME task force to look at why women, especially women from minority ethnic communities, are not in politics per se. And it is the thought that it's getting people's mind thoughts, stereotyping, you know, women back in the day being the housewife and bringing up the children. So now it's changing the thought and how women are looked at, because we are just as good as the men in the workplace if given the chance. And the only way this can be resolved, like I said, it has been recognised, and I know that there is work going on, and we have got equality policies that needs to be followed.
Thank you, Carol. Steve McMillan, what are your feelings towards the lack of women at a high level in politics?
I think that to some extent, even today, we're still suffering a hangover from the fact that women were not able to engage in politics till quite late on. The point is that it's been a male-dominated environment. There's a cultural condition that is male-oriented, and I think, generally speaking, women, and probably in some respects on good grounds, don't necessarily want to engage in that male-dominated cultural environment. And in fact, what we ought to do is find a way to open things up.
Question from the lady at the back.
Right.
Do you think there should be more encouragement for women to get into politics at higher levels?
I think that there's not an overt anti. I think the way in is to get involved locally, learn what it's about, and then work your way up through the system. But in the law, it's an adversarial system, but lots of ladies, lots of women get to very high levels in the law.
Can I just butt in there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's quite all right. But you know, at the end of the day, as you said, it's a man's world, and it is very daunting if you walk into somewhere and it's all male. It's very all well saying, you know, we need to encourage, but its action speaks louder than words, and sometimes just the atmosphere or certain words said will put a woman off, and it's not made her feel welcome.
I agree.
But I think there is one rejoinder that I would be very careful of just saying, let's bring more women into politics. That is that there are other issues of race and certainly of background income-wise, and I think it would be wrong just to allow, if you like, 18 millionairesses to sit around a cabinet table in the way in which I think that is skewing the nature of politics if it's millionaires sitting around that cabinet table. So let's just try and bring as many people from as many different backgrounds as possible into politics, because at the end of the day, politics is our lifeblood.
A question from the lady at the front.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask you, how do you think that Margaret Thatcher's time as Prime Minister has affected the way that men view women and their role in politics?
Well, in my case, not very well, because I think Thatcherism was a particularly regressive time in our social and cultural history. And again, you know, women have got to be prepared to push for the top jobs, but at the same time, I think that they should be, as I said a minute or two ago, from all backgrounds, rather than those who have had the good fortune to come from a certain income bracket, because that's as unfair as men just dominating the political scene.
Thank you, David. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Tonight, the panel has discussed why women appear not to be trusted at a high level in politics. Thank you to the panellists, to the audience, and to the High School for Girls for hosting this event. Good night.